Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Do you guys remember this? Let's see. This was a video that Donald Trump did. It was in an interview with Bill O'Reilly and Trump. Tell me if you remember this.
Respect Putin.
I do respect him.
Do you? Why?
Well, I respect a lot of people, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get along with him. He's a leader of his country. I say it's better to get along with Russia than not. And if Russia helps us in the fight against ISIS, which is a major fight, and Islamic terrorism all over the world,
right?
Major fight, that's a good thing. Will I get along with him? I have no idea. It's very
He's a
possible
killer,
I
though.
won't.
Putin's a killer.
A lot of killers. We got a lot of killers. Why, you think our country's so innocent?
That's the most honest thing I've ever heard Donald Trump say out of his mouth. It's honest. Whatever you want to think about Donald Trump, that conversation is honest. When the last administration drops more than 26,000 bombs in the last year, 2016, we've killed thousands and thousands of civilians. We had no idea how many people were at the bottom of those bombs. The president had a kill list. We have military in 70% of the globe. You can rattle off these stats. 1 million people killed in Iraq. Iraq did not attack us. We destroyed Iraq. We went into their country and obliterated that country. They have open-air slave markets now in Libya based on our actions in that particular region of the globe, in that particular country. Donald Trump is right. He's right. Now, the catch with this is the American audience, despite Donald Trump being right, don't necessarily know how to process that. Like, from the mainstream news's standpoint, whatever the United States does is for all intents and purposes correct. Now, we may fuck up, we may do things poorly, but at the end of the day, the media does not assume bad intent at the part of the United States, on the part of the United States. Donald Trump coming out saying, yeah, we're not all that innocent either. It's mind-blowing because it's not necessarily something you hear on mainstream media. In this conversation, Bill O'Reilly is stunned that Donald Trump will respect Vladimir Putin. That is an amazing statement in and of itself that he's being stunned by this. But at the time, he was on a major network making this argument of why do you respect this guy? And Donald Trump having to explain to Bill O'Reilly he's the leader of that country. And in addition to being the leader of the country, we don't necessarily have this moral standing to make some of the arguments that we've been making in this country. Now, because the country itself, meaning America, don't necessarily know how to process that. They don't have a context in which to put that in. Despite what Donald Trump's saying being true, the American public looks at that and thinks to themselves, particularly with a little bit of priming and prodding, maybe there's something here. Why is this guy being so nice to Vladimir Putin? I mean, after all, the guy's a dictator and he rules with an iron fist and he's supposedly hell-bent on world domination. Why does Donald Trump think this guy is perfectly okay? This is the logic that takes place. The American public is unfamiliar with the presidents and with people who are running for office being honest in this way, because the media is not typically honest with them in this way. This gets exploited, and it gets exploited going all the way back to 2015. So, in Wikileaks statement, this is to John Podesta. I don't know who Brent Beebe is, Web TV, but it's good. That's good. Sooner it's clarified, the better, and the stronger, the better. The Trump ISIS video, if we don't have proof, the campaign should assign 100 people to look for it ASAP. There's probably something on tape somewhere. Now, as you go down to understand what he's saying, the best approach is to slaughter Donald for his bromance with Putin, but not go too far betting on Putin in Syria. This was back in 2015. They were literally talking in 2015, slaughter Donald for his bromance with Putin. Like I said, the American public doesn't really have a context with the press being honest with it with regards to our actions across the globe and abroad. from the United States standpoint, meaning citizens of the United States, we do things for the good reasons. If the United States is doing something, by definition, we're doing it for the best reasons. We may get it wrong, but we do it for the best reasons. It's the reason why there were no consequences for destroying Iraq, and there were no consequences for destroying Libya, that there's no consequences for the killing multiple civilians. If we do something, we're doing it for the right reasons, ergo everything else is just a mulligan. They don't know how to process that. Now, this gets exploited by the Hillary Clinton campaign when she loses that election with this idea of Donald Trump and Russia. It wasn't just me who lost. It wasn't my fault. I'm blameless. I was the most fucking awesomest candidate in the history of any reality frame. The only way I could lose to this was if Russia influenced the election. This plan goes all the way back to 2015. I've read earlier in the book Shattered this line. I've read this months and months and months ago, almost when I first started my channel. This is the New York Post. How Hillary team played the press fools for Russia. This goes back to 2017. Like I said, I read it much early on, as soon as the book Shattered came out. Right here. Shattered, Inside Hillary Clinton's Doomed Campaign by Jonathan Allen and Amy Parents. In light of this week's revelation that Hillary campaign funded the dirty anti-Trump Steele dossier, the book takes on a new significance. It reveals, within 24 hours of her concession speech, campaign chair John Podesta and manager Robbie Mook assembled her communications team at the Brooklyn headquarters to engineer the case that the election wasn't entirely on the up and up. For a couple of hours, the Shake Shack containers littering the room, they went over the script they would pitch to the press and to the public. Already, Russian hacking was the centerpiece of the argument. The plan, according to the book, was to push journalists to cover how Russia hacking was the major unreported story of the campaign, and it succeeded to a fairly well. I don't understand what that word means. After the election, coverage of the Russian quote-unquote collusion story was relentless, and it helped pressure investigations and hearings on Capitol Hill, and even naming the special counsel, which in turn has triggered virtually non-stop coverage. A new media research study finds that since the inauguration, major TV networks have devoted an astonishing 1,000 minutes out of the total 5,015 minutes of the Trump administration coverage discussing speculation that the Trump campaign may have colluded with Moscow in the hacking Clinton emails, which means the Russian story alone has comprised almost 1/5 of all Trump news this year. In contrast, they have so far devoted just 20 seconds to the more substantive scandal of a Hillary Clinton and her husband possibly trading United States uranium rights for cash. This was the case that I made prior, that ultimately the reason that the Russian hacking thing has legs has less to do with there being evidence there. It has more to do with the way the public sees this and the things that certain people need to believe or incentivize to believe in. So if you're a Democrat and you don't necessarily understand why Hillary Clinton could lose to reality show hosts, and maybe you're someone embarrassed that Hillary Clinton lost to reality show hosts, then for you kind of want to believe that your paradigm of the world doesn't count. It is far easier for you to believe that there was something foreign or shady in the election process as a deal with the fact that she just lost, that she was the most unpopular candidate in the history of candidates with the exception of Donald Trump, and she just lost. That's too much to accept. That's too much to deal with. So it is easier to scream at the top of your lungs, Trump and Russia. It was Trump and Russia. It was Trump and Russia. She didn't lose because she was a miserable candidate. She lost because of Trump and Russia. If you're the media, you can understand how monetizing reality in this way is somewhat profitable to the media organizations. They've said already that even though Trump is not necessarily the best thing for America, it is damn good for their wallets, meaning it brings in bucks. The guy was a reality show host. He's rather photogenic, or at the very least from the standpoint of the people who want to watch him. And in a weird way, there's a certain irony to this. Because I don't necessarily think they want to watch him, even though they can't necessarily take their eyes off of him. But if you're a reality show host, what does it matter? They can't take their eyes off of you. From the standpoint of the news media, this idea that the President of the United States was helped by foreign sources is a gold mine. It's a gold mine. It put asses in seats. It makes it look as if people are constantly under threat. It makes them feel like there's something going on that they need to keep glued to the television set. If you're, again, in the Democratic section of this, meaning you hate Donald Trump to his core, and you think there's something fundamentally different about Donald Trump than the previous presidents, then you're looking for each and every little bit of news that you can use to hit Trump over the head with. Meaning any negative story that comes out, you want to grab it. Anything that backs up your understanding of the world, you want to ingest it. Monetizing this information assists the media with this particular story. They run with this story because they love this particular story, because the story fits their bottom line exceptionally well. Not to mention, after a certain point, it takes on a life of its own. Do you honestly believe that media, after 2 years of covering a particular story, will come back and repudiate themselves, saying, we fucked this up royally? We fucked this up magnificently. They're not going to do that. They're never going to do that. Meaning the most that you would ever get from this is if they just trail off and do something else. But they've already established that this is reality. And so everything else is built off of this being a certain reality to it. This piece that they were doing, that Donald Trump did not necessarily understand the politics of this stuff. And I may take issue with Bernie Sanders and some of the stuff he does with the Russian narrative and everything else. But understand, he's not necessarily insane. As much as I hate when Sanders kind of toes the line on this Russian nonsense, I can understand it from a political context, seeing as they're literally attacking Trump with something that they made out of whole cloth. And Bernie himself is attacking Trump with something that he himself, or at the very least, he's going with something that was made out of whole cloth. The Russian hacking narrative, or the point that I'm getting at here is, everyone has a dog in the hunt in this process. And because each person is incentivized in this process to go with this idea of Trump and Russia, you should be extraordinarily skeptical of the information that comes out on this, especially when it's trying to suit and fit a particular narrative that's either profitable for somebody or assuages their understanding of the world. So this video wasn't going to be long. I just wanted to show these because I kind of wanted to make this link between these two things, that just because people are screaming at the top of their lungs about this, the American public is susceptible to this type of attack, because the American public is usually lied to about our associations in the world. Meaning the moment that one of the candidates, Donald Trump, saying something that's actually true, the public don't know how to take it. Why is this guy okay with Vladimir Putin? Maybe there is something to this. Maybe there's something to it. I mean, otherwise, why would he say anything nice about Vladimir Putin? This attack has worked magnificently well. And they've had a complicit media that go along with it without necessarily challenging anything in a major way on this narrative. You've had some people to push back on it, but let's be honest. For all intents and purposes, the media has assiduously toed the Hillary Clinton line in the Hillary Clinton argument and has carried water for the Democratic Party, hook, line, and sinker. So this one is not going to be long, and I'm going to end this one here. I tried to do this live, but I was having difficulties getting it up and running. Just so you guys know, I have two amazing shows next week. On Wednesday, Grant Cameron, he's a UFO investigator. In fact, one of my favorite UFO investigators, is going to be on the show, in addition to Hard Bastard. Hard Bastard is further to the right, but we're going to have a conversation about media and the censorship that's taking place in regards to media. So both of those should be damn good interviews and damn good get-togethers. So I'm going to end it here. I have my live channel back, so I will be resuming my shows at 5 to 6. So, all right, guys. If you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support through Patreon. Thanks, everyone.